Welcome to everyone. A very quick introduction to Paul and me. I coach, I'm a psychotherapist. I've been running extensive clean training since 2002. So it'll be nice when it's 2022 and I can just say for 20 years, but we still got a month to go. I've also involved in some applications of clean language, like using clean for market research to clean up interviews and get more credible information. So basically everything I do involves clean one way or another. About you, Paul?
Yeah, but pretty much everything I do involves clean. I do a reasonable amount of corporate work, which I kind of integrate clean with in different ways. Do co-training with Wendy, and I do one-to-one work, which has over the last couple of years, actually, since I've started doing things more to do with the body, has been more starting to work in a more trauma-informed way. So people who are coming back from trauma, particularly around sexual and emotional abuse, and so a lot. What we'll talk about it a little bit more. A lot of what I've been finding is working with the body is absolutely essential with this. So yeah, and I originally trained with Wendy, and she hasn't been able to get rid of me since.
It's an altogether delightful thing in most ways, anyway. And yeah, I'm delighted the two of us are doing stuff together. So before I get sidetracked onto the ways in which it's not a delight, let's move on to the next little section. So what we're doing today is a session that focuses on the body, which is a great resource and it's available to us all the time. We take our bodies where we go. So it kind of makes good sense that it should be one of the first resources that we take care to make good use of. So we're going to do activities that involve feeling into the body. So kind of interoception. There are lots of different ways you can work with the body, and this is a good one for online stuff because there's no touching, no massaging, nothing of that sort. So we don't need to be in the same room at all. So we're going to do various activities to kind of heighten people's awareness and so on. We debrief those activities, of course. Hopefully do a little bit of thinking about how you can use this with clients and what actions you could take as an individual yourself. And we also want to pay a bit of attention to how one can make use of working with the body along with symbols, metaphor, and with space. When you get those operating together, then you're really on the money for getting things to be psychoactive and alive and happening, all of which is going to make everything more memorable for the client. Just in case anyone didn't hear in the plenary before this, we are aiming to use up two sessions, one after the other, and we're planning to carry on through the break. So the session will be just under 2 hours long, and we hope you can stay. There's sweet nothing we can do to make you stay. So that's the overall picture.
So we thought we'd just start with I've got a big list of history here, which I thought I'd do in about 2 minutes. I don't know how well I'm going to do at that. It seems to be a weird thing of somehow bringing something new, yet somehow it's all very old and known as well. So you can go back to like I'll wave a book. So I've got a book here that's the Vijnana Bhairava, which is an 8th century kind of yoga text book, and it's full of all kinds of meditations on aspects of your body as ways to kind of get in contact with God or enlightenment. So connecting to our body and noticing into our body goes back, you know, probably thousands of years. In modern times, I think one of the key things is around 1978, Eugene Gendling published a book on focusing, and he'd been doing about 15 years of research into what made the difference for in psychotherapy. And what he discovered was the key thing was not what the psychotherapists were doing, it's what the clients were doing. And the clients were noticing their felt sense, which is the sense, internal sensations in their body. And that's what was making a key difference. So he didn't claim he invented something, he claimed he discovered it. So by the way, so we're not the experts. Ronald did a session last year on focusing and bringing it to clean as well. So he knows this stuff inside out. But what was interesting is if you look at then David Grove in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, he's talking about, in his trainings, he talked about a thing called information storage forms. He talked about inside the body, outside the body, and the body. And if you look in some of his transcripts, he's working with the body. He uses the body to go into metaphor. So there's a lot of body things going on, and there's a particular process that one of the few that got extracted from David as an actual process called feeling to metaphor, which is an explicit way of going from body sensations to metaphor, which we've had on the training for years. So it's been around that we work with the body. Metaphors in mind. So Penny and James talk about as a client describes their experience in metaphor, they say a symbolic perception manifests in front, around, and within them, so that they see, hear, feel, and otherwise sense their symbols. At the same time, their body responds. It's the embodiment of their metaphors, their symbolic mind-body knowing that the client self-models. So basically in the heart of symbolic modeling and everything we do is this sense of the mind-body, the body responding as part of the whole kind of clean experiencing. And Penny and James actually talk about the difference with focusing, saying that symbolic modeling does incorporate felt and inside the body, but it also explicitly makes use of metaphors and uses clean language. So in a sense, it's broader. And symbolic modeling, we also help people into new experiences, so their desired outcomes. There's an idea that we can kind of help people identify where they'd like to be. As they identify where they'd like to be, their body responds. And then by placing attention in the body, they can get to know these new states as well. Moving on from that, we've had Jackie Calderwood and Jenny Edge presented a thing called Clean Touch, which actually has to do body work, hands-on body work, using clean questions so the client can request the kind of touch that they'd like. We've got Nick Pole's done the book Words That Touch, so that's about how he's used body work. So he's a body worker and uses clean as well. And what we're hoping to do is make the contribution of really kind of bringing the body to be the first-class citizen we think it always was when David Grove was working with it, but also bringing some of the more trauma-informed coaching style that's come about more recently that I've been working a lot with, and also some developmental aspects. So how do you know what the capabilities of a client are? Like how can they get into metaphor, and how able are they to work with metaphor? Can they notice their body, and how able are they? Can they work in space, and how able are they? And that's the thing I don't think we've had in Clean as well. So that's our whistle-stop tour of some of the history and other things. If you're interested in the topic, you can go and look at, and then what we're hoping to add.
So with that in mind, let's do a little activity to pay a bit of attention to the body. It seems a kind of code congruent thing to do. So we'd like you to consider for yourself how you would like to be now. And when you connect with that in relation to your body, make whatever changes you can make to optimize the situation, if it's possible to make changes right now. So maybe you want to lay down, or maybe you need another layer, or stretch, or yawn, or whatever. So a minute to just connect into your body and act on anything that you become aware of, if you wish to.
Just noticing that we make this assumption that we just have to sit in front of the camera for all Zoom calls, like all day for all of our lives at the moment. So, you know, why not lie down for a Zoom call, or relax back in your chair for a Zoom call, or stand up for a Zoom call. But it might just be a wiggle around.
Okay, how are we doing? Let's just have a few more seconds for those that look as though they're off doing things.
I need the water as well.
Yeah, that's what I also connected to, and quite shocking when one's not even able to notice when one's getting thirsty, or not when one isn't able to, but when one doesn't, or one does and one doesn't do anything about it. Okay, so it looked as though a fair few people found that there was something that they could do that would improve their enjoyment of life right now. Is that a reasonable assumption? Excellent, excellent.
Nodding.
So, any thoughts about, whoa, now Ariel looks like she's got the right idea. Makes note, get sofa.
I haven't been able to install a bed in this room. It's very too small.
That'd be even better, yeah.
I think the
Okay.
tactile connection with a cat is a good one as well.
And the nice thing with cats is you don't have to do very much thinking to do that, because they come and use up all your sight of your monitor on a regular basis. It seems to be, you know, they walk in front between you and the screen every so often, so easy to reach out then. Okay, any learning points, things that you've noticed, things you might do differently in future as a result of that little activity?
First of all, I don't yet know what I'm going to do differently in the future, but I know this place of how being at the computer, I have this noticing of, oh, this is getting a little uncomfortable, but let me just do that.
Oh, that's so perfect. Yeah.
I know, and I know it since years. It's the most like bizarre thing how I'm kind of being sucked into, oh, but this is so satisfying if I first finish this, and then I can look at making this more comfortable. It's like, oh, I don't have a solution at all. And if that would be one of the outcomes of the session, it was just like, wow.
And this really goes to what we've said about this session, that there's this issue of coming up with outcomes that don't take the whole of us into account. And that would be a case in point. And there's also the small matter of we do things all nice and rationally, accepting that we come up with outcome, or we act in ways that don't go with what we rationally know would be best for us or good for us. So this is the big question. How is that happening? What can one do about it? How can one increase one's awareness? Any other examples? Thank you. How do you say your name? Is it Marai?
Marai is wonderful, yes.
Okay, brilliant. Any other noticings and learnings to offer?
I am relating this to an audiobook I listened to by Clarissa Pinkola Estes and Carolyn Myss about intuition and the mystic life. And in it, they, very, very clearly spoke about how in order to hear our intuition, we have to be willing to defend it against what others might want for us. So this idea of if you're calling in your own intuition or your inner knowing, why would it show itself to you if you have never done anything to defend it? Like, why would it trust you with the information it has if you haven't shown up courageously to protect it against the ideas and thoughts of others, including this logic mind that we're like, this doesn't make sense. So if you're going to dismiss it anyway, why would it come to you?
Indeed.
That's kind of what's coming to mind in this conversation.
This is really nice. That there's a bit we have it right at the end, which I think is what you were saying. I think ties really nicely into how it adds quite a lot. So we might come back to this. Thank you.
I remember a very long time ago, a little boy that I had a role in helping somewhat. He was adopted. He had been abused before being adopted. And there came a point where he had an absolutely appallingly sore throat. And he hadn't told his adopted mother. And they worked out, why had this happened? He could talk, perfectly okay. And it was that this poor child had started his life in a house where he had no bed. He would often fall asleep on the stairs, and his needs were never attended to. So there was no point in mentioning that he had a sore throat, because nothing different was going to happen having mentioned it. And it seems to me that's a kind of really grim example of the sort of thing that you're saying, that all of us are, probably all of us are guilty of, just ignoring bits of useful information our system's giving us for some or other reason. So yeah, the more that we can turn that around in the next couple of hours, the better.
Right,
okay.
So we're just going to do we are going to do another activity in a sec. We're just going to wire the body. You probably all think it's a good thing because you've come anyway, but it's important. Just to say a little bit about, well, why are we going to spend 2 hours noticing our bodies? I think personally, I'd had a history of doing quite a lot of talking type of things, NLP, clean, but they all seem to be quite in the head. That's actually been really, really helpful. There's still stuff that seems stuck. And for me, there was a big turnaround. I started learning some body work. I had a practice partner I worked with, and she'd been raped when she was a teenager. So she's in her 40s or so now. And she thought she was completely past it all. And we started doing this body work. She'd done body work before. But I think there's something about the way we did it in such a kind of loving, held way that meant she started remembering things from the past. And actually, as we did a few sessions, things came up that really actually she hadn't processed through. We noticed that there were literally things in her body. One of the things that struck me was about sound, because she hadn't been able to make a sound when she was attacked. So she made these really tiny kind of types of noises at the start, but we did work that had hands-on. It had metaphor in it. There was this constricted band around her, noticing what's happening in her body. And slowly you heard more and more sound until she could kind of, express whatever she wanted. So, and there were points of tension around her body. It was a completely eye-opening experience, and one of the most meaningful things I think I've ever done. But it really opened my eyes to how much noticing the body, or working with tensions, or moving the body, or making sounds, it is just an essential part. You can get so much cleared with the talking therapies, but then there's this whole other piece that if you haven't addressed, somehow things seem to be stuck. So I'm now a huge advocate of combining it alongside the metaphors and faith and all the other things we love in clean.
And I mean, this is something you can read all over the place, that where trauma is concerned, unless you get the body involved, the chances are there will be aspects that the person is going to have difficulty coming to terms with. That full story kind of bears it out, I think. But there's sort of question as to why this should be so. So we're not wanting to go on a whole lot about trauma in this session, quite the contrary. But you're going to tell your story.
Yeah, there's so you'll quite often hear like somehow trauma gets stored in the body, or actually in its events, I know we're saying trauma with a big T, but actually it's lots of things that happen to you. Traumas with small t's, other experiences, positive things get stored in your body. That's the other thing that people don't realize, because we focus a lot on the trauma side in a lot of this work. But what does that mean? So there's a really interesting little experiment I found, which is actually from sometime around 1911. I think that's when it's first written up. So there's a French physician, Edward Clapeyron. I might be pronouncing the name wrong. So he's a psychotherapist. He had a patient, female patient, and she couldn't create new memories. She had brain damage. So every time he walked in, it was as if he was meeting her, or she was meeting him for the first time. So she never remembered him, even if it was a few minutes before, she didn't remember him. So he's, I don't know if you know about psychology, but they like devising devious and evil experiments. So he devised an experiment, and so he entered the room, and he held out his hand to shake her hand, but he'd hidden a tack, like a thumbtack, a little spike on his hand. So she takes his hand, shakes it, and then goes, pulls her hand away in pain and surprise. So then the next time the doctor visited, of course, she didn't remember who he was, and he does the same thing, extends his hand, and she refused to shake hands with him, but she couldn't say why. And what we're getting in that story is the first sense that there's other kinds of memories. There's a way in which things like body experiences, somatic experiences get stored, in fact, in a different way to the other kinds of memories that we're used to. And we might not necessarily have conscious awareness of that kind of memory either. So we're after that kind of information, and actually seeing if we can get both actually positive things and where it's important to get at some of the negative things as well that are stored away.
And it's back to this thing of, even outside of trauma, we all know there are times that we don't act on what we cognitively know would be good. But if we can come at things from a different angle, we've got a chance of changing that. And that's what we're wanting to do. So move on to the next activity.
Yep. So this is more of a training example. The other things we're doing, I'll see if it's all of them, they're pretty much things you could do with your clients, or if we've tweaked them, we've got a handout that we can send to people. So you've got the version you can do with clients if you want to as well. This is more of a training thing, and we're going to just facilitate from the front to invite you to have an experience. So what we're going to be doing in just a second, so I'll give you a chance to change your position if you want. I'm going to invite you to have an experience of relaxing outside with a pleasurable warmth of the sun on your skin. So we're assuming people have all had something like that experience. So you can just bring a memory of some time you're outside, nice warmth of the sun on your skin. So if you'd like, you can put your body into the right position for that. Like if you wanted to lay down, that's fine. And equally, you can close your eyes or keep your eyes open. Okay, a lot of people find closing their eyes helps with focusing inside, but it's interesting to notice that's a choice. And then as you get in position, I'm then just going to ask a few questions and just notice what you notice, and we'll debrief afterwards. Okay. Just waiting a second. And there we go. Okay. And as you're relaxing outside with the pleasurable warmth of the sun on your skin, is there anything else about that warmth? And is there anything else about that warmth on your skin? And your body relaxing. And whereabouts is that relaxing?
Sorry, something went wrong.
And is there anything else about that relaxing? Relaxing, and the warm sun on your skin. And is there anything else about all that? And relaxing outside. And where did that outside come from? Whenever you're ready, you can come back and join us all. First question is, so who was feeling that, like actually feeling as if they're in that experience? We've got some nods. Get a couple of thumbs up. A few people like to say something about that. A couple of comments.
I think the thing that rooted me the most was the idea of seeing things through a blue tint, where you've been looking into the sun and your eyes start compensating. Also, I live in Texas, so the idea of warmth on my skin immediately made me feel sweaty.
That's fantastic. So we've not just got the warmth, it's extra things like sweatiness. Did you actually sweat, or you just sorry? Yeah,
I'm in a sweater, so I came pretty close.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm by a great big window, and that's why we're backlit. And so and my feet feel cold. I'm sorry, see if I can get focused. And so I actually put my feet up against the window and felt the warmth on my skin. And what I noticed was how relaxed and like deeply like went into my body. And then as you kept asking, is there anything else? I also noticed like a fear arise, like, if I relax too much, I'll get a sunburn. Like I'll fall asleep, and then this will be a bad thing and not a good thing. And I was like, how many times does that come up in my life where I'm like enjoying something and then I get afraid of that thing?
Really nice observation. Yeah, there's a lot to do with how much we allow ourselves to enjoy anything. Yeah, only to a certain point, or maybe not at all.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And that's that feeling relaxed. So who else was actually feeling more relaxed?
I was feeling more relaxed, and for me, these exercises, my pattern is that it makes me think about a previous moment in time. So it transported to me to my last holiday, which was a while ago because of COVID, but in Mexico, by the pool, pina colada in hand. Could almost feel that heat just relaxing and just kind of muscles, untightening. So just a real magical experience of a great holiday, which feels so far, so far away right now with the constraints of COVID and things like that.
It's also interesting. Oh, go on, Wendy.
And yet, even though it feels so far away, within only a couple of minutes of Paul asking a couple of very basic, clean questions, you were, my word, transported back there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely in the moment, back on that holiday. Yeah, it was quite magical. So thank you for that.
Very welcome. We were trying to pick something people would enjoy for this.
Paul, I was enjoying it so much. I found your questions terribly distracting.
All of the questions?
All of the questions.
Ah.
Didn't matter. It was just, I had to go in order to process the question. I had to leave my body and go back into my mind to process the question and then go back into my body.
This is a really nice point, actually, because on the receiving end of this kind of work, I've noticed as I've got much more familiar with my body, it is like I have a similar thing. I think when I was first a client, having some questions that just would keep, if my mind's kind of going elsewhere, would help me stay in my body. It's useful to have the questions more often. As I've got more experienced, it's like sometimes the questions are helpful, particularly if it's like a little bit tricky to find the sensation, and sometimes it's like, I'm in my stuff, leave me alone. So there's a really interesting bit of calibration as a facilitator to try and judge that. So an interesting observation is, like Wendy was saying, is that a lot of these kind of actually really nice things are quite available to us if only we knew how to get at them with a few questions. Now what we'd like to ask is a question at the end. So did anyone notice anything different about the last question, or what you noticed, in your body in the last question? Mariah?
Yeah, I was like, what? Well, it was like being brushed against the proper direction, as we would say in German.
Yep.
And then I almost wanted to kind of add, I probably in a live session I would have asked, like, and there's like, what does he mean? Oh, just ignore it. Yeah, but still. And then kind of, oh, he's kind of completely shifted. Now I'm kind of actually back on my couch, realizing where all of this came from. So yeah, shifted the level of presence or awareness. And then you said, come back.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. It's almost as if we had a plan. So did anyone else notice a similar experience to Mariah's in that last question? Or not? Yeah, Irene?
Like Mariah described, it's like, hang on, what do you mean with that question? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't kind of fit what I was expecting would happen.
Absolutely. So thank you for that. So what we wanted with this So there's a few learning things. So we've all, and that's what we've been discussing. One thing, so imagine we obviously made up this experience because we had to try and take a group through it. So the first thing about this is like a part of clean is if a client wants an experience, or getting access to a resource or something is important, other than the bit we said at the start, because this is how you do it. And with a few questions, someone can potentially be back into a very resourceful state or into an experience where, I'd like more confidence is what they want. Okay, so if there's been a time when they've had confidence, we can do exactly what we've just done and get them to start noticing, well, what's that like? But both metaphorically and in terms of these kind of body sensations that we were getting. So this is why it's useful. And what we want to share with the last question is how easy it is as a facilitator to create a very jarring experience that takes someone away from the body experiences. So in a moment, we're going to let you off to do some practicing with clean questions. Susie, sorry, I've answered your question.
Last question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, we were trying to devise something that was unpleasant for your body. And relaxing outside. Where did that outside come from?
Yeah.
So we deliberately designed something you had to go back in time. So because people said this, the questions, really good body questions get you very in the moment, present with what's happening. So anything that's time-based doesn't, particularly going back in time. So we made something that goes back in time, a word we hadn't used before. So you have to think about outsider. What even was that? If you really think about it, it came from me. So you have to think about being in the, it's just like, it was the thing we thought would most pull your attention in every other direction than your body in the present moment. So we did think about it quite carefully.
In other words, it was something that was not clean.
I know, it's a perfectly clean question. It's an absolutely clean question.
No, because it's coming from you.
Okay,
No,
the word outside came from Paul. So that word is not clean. But within the context of the activity, it obeys the rules of clean. So it would be a contextually clean question. Outside would be a word that everyone was kind of primed to expect because it was all about relaxing outside in the sun. So it was pretty legitimate. It's just that we deliberately chose a category of clean question that does not keep you anywhere near in your body. It kind of takes you out off to another time, this one. And so was kind of set up to undo the questions that were meant to help people connect with their body, which was all the previous questions.
I had something surprisingly deep happen, and I would love to. I don't know what your next thing is, but I'm going to share it really briefly. And that is, so this is meant to be and was and mostly a very pleasant experience. And I was able to go into it and like really feel it. And then I kept exploring, am I alone there or is there someone with me? And what I realized is, and that's like, wow, is I could feel my ambivalence that I have this thing stored in my body of the desire for intimacy or closeness in such an experience. And at the same time, there is something stored of, oh, that's then not fully safe and does not bring the full relaxation. So it actually took me somewhere like, ooh, okay, so that's a really powerful thread for me to explore further.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's interesting what can come up in really simple experiences.
I had a question and I thought that I asked it, but I lost my internet signal, so I don't know if you heard me. You asked in an outside like that, and where might an outside like that come from? Or where does an outside, and in my mind, I thought, well, why didn't he ask, and where is an outside like that? Could you speak to your choice between asking where it's located versus where it comes from?
Yeah, because we were choosing the most disruptive question we could think of. Well,
Okay.
I'm sure you can think of more ones, and where it comes from, you have to go back in time because things can't. If there's it'll come from somewhere, and typically in the past. So you have to go to potentially a different location, and generally a past time. So we were taking shifting attention in space, shifting attention in time, shifting it outside of your body. What's the biggest shift in attention we could get you to make so that you'd notice?
Of course, mine was a past experience and past time, so probably that's why it didn't really alter mine, right? Because I was already in a past time. So
yeah, it'll vary for people, but the point isn't. I mean, it might be very exciting it is worth talking about why we designed the question that way. What we wanted, because we're going to do an exercise in a moment where you get to facilitate each other. What we're going to ask you to do is I'll give you more instructions in a second, but it'll be ask really simple questions. So the anything else, what kind of and where questions about body words. That's basically the exercise. But what people do, even if we say that, is they'll ask, is there a relationship between, or where does that come from? Or is that like what? All the other questions. And those questions do exactly what you've just experienced. So we're kind of giving you, first of all, that the questions really matter in this case. Some of them really work for keeping attention in the body and some take attention elsewhere. So you felt it as on the receiving end. And when you go into the experience, you'll notice what your facilitator asks you. So you'll get a little bit of awareness of, did that keep me with my sensations in my body, or did it jolt me out in some way? So that's really the purpose, is to give you that experience. As you go into the rest, you've got much more discriminating eye on, or ear, or felt sense on what questions really help keep attention into these body sensations and what questions don't, because this is the skill as a facilitator that you have to practice and learn.
It's going to be a thing that can make for psychoactivity, that can make for a situation which you're thinking, oh, I must be careful not to get sunburnt, or, how many drinks have I had at this nice holiday resort in Mexico? You only think those sorts of things, or notice your eyes seeing differently because of the sun that's been streaming into them, if that activity has gone psychoactive. And if you can get that psychoactivity happening for the client, they've got a massively better likelihood of remembering and being able to make use of whatever that piece of work was, because you've stimulated kind of more of their senses in effect. I just want to add one other thing with the things that Phil has said, where he's saying that the questions were all take him out of his body. So we're saying that questions like what kind of and anything else and where are generally helpful for keeping the person in their body. In the end, you're going to need to go with what's true for an individual client. I mean, that won't be news to clean people. If somebody has a different experience from the one that is more generally experienced, well, then one gets on and thinks about how you can change the way you're facilitating to be useful to that particular client.
I was going to say, and I have had that happen with the client before, where most of my clients, I do a guided meditation in the beginning to help them calm down. And one of my clients was like, I feel like it's easier for me to get into this moment without being guided in a meditation. So I was like, okay, then we'll do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Good.
Okay.
So we're going to just position this, as we said, although we're doing lots of things about the body, this is in the context of clean generally. So I think we've said this, but I've got a nice little picture. So we'll just spend a minute for visual people. So what we've realized is there's at least 4 different ways, probably more, that people can kind of come to know things, or they can process through things. So one, what we're very used to in our nice Western world is, we call it conceptual, maybe logical, rational. So we can take a problem, we can kind of dissect it, analyze it, come up with options, make a plan, go and act on it, which is in quite a lot of traditional coaching as well. And this is brilliant. It's a great, fantastic resource we have. And on the whole, people are better at that kind of thing. So we'll put that slightly to one side. So in clean, what we're saying is actually, particularly if that doesn't work particularly well, what you can do is do symbols. So you can get an outcome, maybe take a conceptual outcome, a real world thing, turn it into something symbolic, or turn a problem into something symbolic. Once it's symbolic and metaphorical, you can find out more, you can learn more, it might change. And if it changes, that actually tends to affect your reality as well. So that's a great domain in which to place your problems and outcomes and work with them. And also in clean, we do the same thing with space. So that's great. Also, you could place your problems and outcomes and information into space. David Grove talks about nailing your experience to the floor to tease it out. So we can use space as well as a way to find out more, learn, process, make change. So we're adding in, which was already there, the body. So equally, you can go to your body and you can notice outcomes that actually come from your body. You can, through experience of like noticing, or not that we're doing today, but actually doing things with your body, you can create change. So it's yet another way. So in terms of having a menu of ways to help people meet their out.
Did we lose Paul?
I'm not sure what's happened, but certainly Paul seems to be frozen.
Has he turned into just a concept in the conceptual
Outcomes
land?
for me. Hello?
Oh, Paul, you're there. Okay.
Yes, sorry. Right, I'll carry on. Because my internet connection is unstable. That's unfortunate for today. Where did I get to? I talked about
Somatic.
space. Oh, right. So into somatic. So that's another domain in which you can find outcomes from your body or notice things and create change. And not that we're doing it today, but move your body or do things with your body that create change. And what we're saying is, as facilitators with the clean, it's good for us to have skills in each of those individually. So our own, do our own development in each of those individually, have our own skills for helping clients in those individually. And then actually, there's a real magic that happens if we get several of them happening at the same time. That's what we call psychoactivity. And that example of the relaxing warm in the sun is an example of what we call a psychoactive experience. Although we'd introduced it, it was as if you were somewhere else, and actually your body was involved as well. So imagine, metaphorically, you come up with a metaphor landscape of I don't know, there's a king and a queen, and they're standing in their castle, and you move to the location of the king. So you're moving in space to a metaphor, and when you do, your body changes and you feel more upright and confident. That's an example of those three things coming together in a psychoactive experience. Then you might move to the queen, so you've moved in space. The symbol is different. Your physiology changes. And there's something about the queenly love and her regalness or something that you get through as a felt experience. So we can combine all those three things in clean, and but to do it, you actually have to have the skills in each of the individual ones. So nice picture for people who like this visually.
And like the 4S is just a tiny cheat, or was there?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to make the joke. Right, because the conceptual's to the side because it doesn't start with S. Symbolic, spatial, and somatic is S, and the fourth S is exactly psychoactivity. So that works for some people and not for others. So right, we're going to actually let ourselves loose on a bit of facilitation with each other now. Actually, Wendy, you were going to introduce this.
Yeah.
Great.
And so the activity we're going to do now is what we're calling clean body focusing. So it has a relationship to the body of knowledge known as focusing. And what we're going to do is we're going to invite the explorer to get to know more about their body sensations, develop perhaps a little more of an interoceptive awareness. And at the same time, the facilitator is going to be practicing keeping their own attention and the explorer's attention on the explorer's body and sensations and locations in the body. And so the point with this is that there's skills that one needs both as a client and as a facilitator. The client needs to be able to notice smallish differences in their body. And the more they get good at that, the more they can distinguish things, probably the more use their body can be in giving feedback to them. And for the facilitator, the whole deal really with clean facilitating is that one needs to get to be really, really good at holding on to your own attention, not being deviated by things the client says or whatever, just really hanging on to what you're paying attention to. And you need to get good at helping the client to keep their attention on whatever seems to be the most relevant thing. So this activity kind of allows for both of those things. The way that we're going to be doing things differently from normal focusing with this activity is that we are going to ask you to pay attention to things that the client likes in relation to sensations they have in their body. In normal focusing, there's a non-judgmental attention that gets paid to whatever sensations the person feels. And there's nothing at all wrong with that. And we know from working cleanly that most people are hugely, their attention is deviated towards problem things. That's both the client and the facilitator very often. And so saying we're going to stick to things that the client likes also helps to just train everyone's attention to be able to pay attention to something other than problems. There's one more kind of paying attention that this activity is going to help you to master, particularly as facilitators. And that's that if you've been doing clean for a while, you've probably got a great big, I don't know, searchlight that seeks out metaphors and kind of zooms in on them. And there's nothing wrong with that either. And you want to have choice as a facilitator as to what you focus on. And our thing for this session is, we think probably quite a lot of clean facilitators have not been putting as much attention on the body as possible. So in this activity, we're going to ask you to not ask questions about any metaphors the client gives you, which is going to probably be quite hard for people because we so much think, you know, metaphors are good and let's go for it. But for this activity, you're going to stick to sensations and body parts and body actions. That's going to be the area in which you will be focusing. I'm just going to see whether I have got this copied and I can put this.
I've got it ready to go in the chat.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Because when I paste it, Zoom puts tabs in really large, so there'll be one.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
A moment.
Okay, so we're going to start with a question that we've kind of made up. That's it's not on a sheet of clean questions, but it's as close to being clean as can be. I think one would have quite it would be hard to argue against it. And the question is, and your body. And what are you noticing now that you like? And you should be able to see this now in the chat. So it's going to be our starting question, which we got thanks to someone who was on a play session we were doing recently with this, trying out all sorts of different versions. And then you can see the questions you're going to ask is there anything else? What kind of, and where is that? Or you can say, and whereabouts is that? Whatever thing they've mentioned. Like, you know, oh, there's warmth. And is anything else about that warmth? What kind of warmth is that? Where is that warmth? Or, and whereabouts is that warmth? So your things you can ask about, sensations, body parts or locations, body actions, and absolutely not going for metaphors. Okay. I suppose one more instruction perhaps, and one or two tips. Clients, if you don't like what's happening for you for any reason, then tell your facilitator. You know, this is supposed to be about a sensation that you like. And so if you find you starting to not like it, tell them and they'll stop asking you about whatever you've been exploring up till that point. Some things to pay attention to. It seems to sometimes take a bit longer to connect with body feelings. So facilitators facilitate slowly, give your client a chance to connect with their body. If the client doesn't say anything for really quite a long time, then a good question to use is, and what's happening now? Magnificently useful, clean question, that one. For those of you who know about clean syntax, you might like to use and as instead of and when. So instead of saying and when warmth, whereabouts is that warmth? You could say and as warmth, whereabouts is that warmth? That as, if you use the word as, it helps to keep the what's happening. So it all kind of should help with psychoactivity. Yeah, I think that's it. Anything else, Paul, that you think we need to add?
I think I'll just check with people. So when we say sensation words, you know, things like warmth, pressure, you know, it's tight, something feels tight, could be tingles, pinpricks. I know some of that's a little bit metaphorical, actually, but things that are, you know, you've got to take a judgment. Oh, that's like something you would sense of in or on your body. Body parts, like someone might say, oh, it's in my heart, or my, you know, I've got an ache in my shoulder. So that's both a part, shoulder, and a location, and in the shoulder. So all those are fair game to ask questions about. Oh, pain in, oh, sorry, we're not doing a lovely sensation in my shoulder. Whereabouts in your shoulder? Get it more precise. Or anything else about that lovely sensation, or what kind of sensation. So, and try and keep it as close to the locations, body parts, and the felt piece. And you know, then just play, because this is like possibly your first time, right? So just have a go. Good.
So, Paul, do you think in pairs or threes?
Running a little bit short of time now, aren't we? Should we
Yeah.
give pairs a go?
Yeah.
Can I ask, Wendy, can you repeat that syntax of as versus when?
Yeah.
So that, yeah, it just went really quickly for me. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear it one more time. Repeat.
Okay, so anyone who doesn't know about syntax, don't worry about it. Just ask the questions we've got there, you know, what kind of, is anything else, and so on. If you do know a bit about syntax, the common way to use it would be to say, and when there's a pleasant sensation in your shoulder, whereabouts is that pleasant sensation? Or is there anything else about that pleasant sensation? That we're saying, instead of using and when, rather start off and say, and as pleasant sensation in your shoulder. So use as instead of when. This is a legitimate clean thing, and you do it when there's something that's happening to indicate or encourage it continuing to happen.
So you had said something when they haven't said something for quite a long time. What is happening now? So stick to the syntax of, and what is happening now? And then
Yeah, I
when-
think with that, you don't need to say, sorry, say again, Lindsay.
And then after they answer that question, use as, you know, bracket, whatever they say. Is there anything else?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just having trouble.
Brilliant.
But for anyone who's new, you know, just that where exactly what's in the chat, just ask those questions, the first question, and then one of the three about sensation, and you'll be good. We're just adding some bits in for people who are a bit more experienced, so they can go on a bit. Cool.
No
Okay.
metaphors.
So we're all back. So there's a few little bits of, I guess we'll just do a general. So what was that like, either as client or facilitator? Yeah, all right.
I feel like I'm finally allowed to go with like where I've always desired. I'm so kinesthetic, I know that. And so many times, like, what do you see? We're doing a group process together, and then everyone else is sharing about what they saw, or like the guidance is into some visual, and I'm like, I'm just processing this differently, like totally in my element, and like together, like this, both experiences were so satisfying, and we landed at a place of like each of us like power and energy. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is exactly about the client being choice. Like what's the right kind of way of approaching things for a particular client? That's what we say. Yeah, we've got metaphor, space, the body, and for different people it's going to be different one or combinations. So that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. So, anyone else? Any observations? That could also be facilitators, the challenge, you know, just keeping to the body and things like that. Any observations as clients or facilitators?
As a facilitator, it was hard for me because I mean, like many of us, very metaphorical. I wanted to go in other directions, and I told Phil I really appreciated that he would just kind of brush it aside if he didn't want to go wherever I was asking. He would just stay in his body, stay in his experience, and it really helped me to know where was good for him.
Fantastic.
I was in this just lush, wonderful place inside. Ariel did a great job of asking questions, and it was like, nah, I don't want to answer that one. It doesn't relate, you know. I'm just enjoying my body.
I do think that's something that can be a real benefit to clients working cleanly, is for them to get to a point where they don't go with the conventional thing of, you know, I must be polite, I must answer the questions I'm asked, and instead they let the facilitator know what works and what doesn't. So sounds like it was with
as a client too, it was really nice because I've never done that before. I've never just been in my body and been able to share that with someone else to see what's going on and share that and have that connection with someone else. So it was great.
fantastic.
I found as the facilitator really how important it is to stay so close to the body and really resist the temptation. I mean, it was similar to what Ariel was saying, but we, in our session, Wendy ended up coming out of her body, and the way that we got back into it was to really focus on a particular body part, like just to go back into it again. So it was kind of like, it was an interesting experience of moving in and out of body awareness, and what made that happen was very simple, but you know, yeah, deceptively simple.
Yeah, those two words you could say are a very good description of clean. Everything about it is deceptively simple.
Yeah, and I think both what Ariel and you've just said, that there's like a practice thing. In the end, it's asking like what kind of, like one of three simple questions about a word the client said, but it's all in. You listen to all the words, you can really clearly discriminate that was a metaphorical word, that was a body word. You're in the back of your mind going, what's the best in service of the client and their outcome, where are they now and what are they good at, and then this really simple question comes out of your mouth. Behind it is this mammoth amount of skill and training and discrimination. But it's really, I love it because it seems like magic. Just because at work sometimes I just drop in this question that looks like nothing, and because it has all that thinking behind it, it lands on exactly the right thing. And anyway.
And the never-ending struggle against your own experiences and your own
exactly.
That's it as well, yeah.
Because I told Phil, he said something about worries, and I was like, and where are those worries? And he's like, they're not here. There's someone else's. Oh, okay. For me, it would have been somewhere, but for you, it wasn't. It wasn't a sensation.
Yeah, that whole issue of getting past one's own patterns and one's own preoccupations and and past one's own metaphors as well, realizing that just because someone else has a similar symbol to you doesn't necessarily mean that for them it is the be all and end all, if it is for you. So yeah, all of that is also part of the deal with all this clean stuff.
Susie.
Susie.
One of the things I found quite interesting was staying with the question and your body. What are you noticing now that you like? And so that no matter how many times it sort of like swerved off into metaphor, went into going back and asking that question rather than, oh, that's disappearing. Yes. And noticing what you like in your body.
Nice.
Bringing it back continually to that was that was a lovely question. Thank you.
Yes, we thought it was good when our participant on our play session came up with it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we switched to what you like. There's actually two reasons. One is if you stay too long on things you don't like, the chance of an unexpected memory coming up is much higher. So actually, just in terms of playing with this, going from sensation to, if you start doing it not just for things you like, move around the sensations. Don't stay too long on one. Is the way to keep it reasonably safe and come out. So do this for a little while and come out and check how people are. Just there's a bit more to safety, and but there's a little bit of a risk that something comes up that people weren't expecting. So those are two ways if you go and practice.
Even with something you like.
That's why we think like is pretty fine. The main thing with like is it might get that you like it too much, and then it's like, am I allowed this? I might like a load of stuff kicks in that, my goodness, I'm not supposed to be enjoying my shoulder. That surely can't be allowed. Am I a shoulder fetishist? So you will shut down enjoying yourself in some clever way, I'm sure. So Christiane, got your name? That's right.
What I experimented as being facilitated is because my body is quite all in pain, pretty much so. So I decided to go as if my body would be in a good situation. So I reversed it, because my entire right side is pretty much in pain, so it reflects on my left side. So I decided, okay, how I would like it to be. So this is how I went in my facilitation to change the dynamic.
And what happened?
What happened?
Okay,
Still in pain, but it's okay.
No, was it?
No, but it created something. It brought me tools actually in order to transform that in a better way in a day-to-day basis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really good for a short practice.
And thank you,
Yeah.
Claudia.
So, it brings up an interesting point. So you've got the choice of what's happening now in the moment as a kind of, it could be a thing you do at the start of the session. Just we're going to do something, we're going to have a decision in a second because we've got two things. I don't think we're going to fit them both in now. Have a think, Wendy, about what you think is the right one to do.
Yeah.
So there's a what's happening now almost at the beginning of the session, and that can even lead into the session. I've done that quite a lot. But there's also, exactly like you say, there's what would you like to have happen? You're imagining a future, a bit like we imagined the warm, relaxing warm in the sun. Well, yeah, okay, we imagine a past event. You imagine a future that you'd like, and actually by getting the metaphors for it and imagining it and then starting to get the body engaged, it quite often turns out you can have quite a lot of it already, particularly body things. You can quite often, if only I was relaxed in the sun. Well, actually what you really want, it's about being relaxed. Okay, what kind of relaxed? You talk yourself into it and suddenly you're there relaxed in the chair. You didn't need to buy an airline ticket and go through all the bureaucratic regulations at the airport. You could just get relaxed. So yeah, there's wonderfully simple things you can do, as well as like addressing some like really long-term difficulties with your body. I think we haven't gone too much into that, but I think that's possible, these kind of techniques. Cool. All right, we're going to jump into, I think, probably one more thing. I don't know which one. What do you think, Wendy?
If it really goes against the grain, but I think some focus on ignoring outcomes is probably more important than focusing on outcomes.
Okay, the bit, so we have a little process. The bit we're not going to do is a little process for getting an outcome from your body, but we have written it down in the handout things. So at the end, we're just going to say anyone who wants handouts, send us your email because I need to tweak them a little bit, and then I'll send them through. And they've got a couple of they've got this process we were just talking about on a page. They've got the one we're not doing, so you can just go and practice it with someone, and something else that we might or might not show you depending on if we've got time. Okay, so we're going to try another activity from the front. So that was set up. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to imagine something. And just to be really clear, you're not going to have to say what it is, what the thing is. So imaginations can go wherever you like. What we are going to ask you to do is notice what's happening in your body during the activity. So imagine things and say a couple of other things and just notice what happens as we go through the activity. And then we're going to share what we noticed in our body. Okay, so that's the bit to share, but what you're going to imagine, don't have to share. Okay, are we ready? So what I invite you to do is to imagine or somehow sense into something that your body would really like. So something that would be deeply satisfying or comforting or amazingly pleasurable or anything else that your body would really like. Something you can just stay with it. And if you haven't yet, that's fine. Just allow some time. Now with that access to that, I'm going to offer you something else. So it turns out, have a magic wand. And so whatever, and through that magic wand, you can have whatever you're imagining right now, but you just have to ask me out loud. So now just notice, you don't have to ask out loud, just notice what your body reaction to that is. And then we'll come back and just notice what happened in that hopefully rather simple little experience, or simple on the face of it, like all these things. Okay, so I'll do a general, I've got some specific things that might have happened that are, let's do a general, what happened just around noticing something that you would really like, and about this possibility that with a magic wand, it could just happen, but you've got to say it out loud. So what did you notice during that experience?
I'll go.
Thanks, Phil.
At first, there was like no reaction. It hadn't penetrated deep enough yet. And then I went, what? I have to ask out loud? No way. So that was my reaction.
And
it was actually pretty subtle. It's like a, eh.
Where was the no way coming from?
From my body. That's my body going, nah. Don't want to have to go into the voice.
Right. And oh, Brian.
Back for Brian. Brian, it looks as though, yeah.
Maybe the arm of your headset up or something.
Sorry, I was looking forward to the opportunity to speak to, ironic there, right? To actually articulate the words in anticipation that magic would occur once I spoke the words, and my body brightened up in expectation that I was going to feel this pleasurable release, this warmth that I desired in my body. So it grabbed my attention as well.
So you had an anticipation that, you know, let's assume this is actually real, that you could ask, and that when you asked, you'd get that.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Okay, so who else?
You had something else.
Yeah, I've got a couple of specific things I'll ask in a minute, but I'll get the general one first. Mariah.
Also subtle. The first I was like, I had a moment of negotiation. So what I was imagining was not like, of course I share this, but I had a moment like, oh yeah, that's worth it. I would share that. That's okay. And then the next was just like, oh, do I believe that then it will really happen, or is it just like a false claim? And then I've kind of opened up, and I had a tiny bit, but really like tiny, mini chill down my back. I think mostly on the possibility of, okay, I share it, but then I'm not actually really receiving it.
You've got some negotiation. You've got you say that's worth it. You would share that, and you've got you might share it, but then not get it.
Yeah, and then being tricked into something and not being pleased. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying very hard to not trick anyone. I haven't got a thumbtack in my hand. Oh. Okay, and any other experiences? Oh, Ralph.
Yes. My thoughts go in the brain, and the brain produces a picture. And I fall in the picture, and after I remember the situation, the feeling, I imagine there's a feeling is coming to the whole body. And then I fall down in this feelings. And I stay there, and then you wake me, and I come back to, oh, what's happened there? I'm just in the picture. Thank you for sharing this.
Wow. Okay, so we have a process there of like thoughts to picture to feelings, and then back up to thoughts. Cool. Okay, so there's a few bits in this experience. So let's see if anyone had any of these experiences. So the first one is, does anyone find it difficult to come up with something in the first place? Irene did. Okay. And did you get something in the end, or not?
I did get something, but when I made this exercise before, Susie realized that I'm not in my body most of the time. And in that exercise, I noticed that first comes a picture, and then comes the body sensation. But once I've chosen a picture, that was good.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah, I would say it's really good that there's a subtlety here that we're not going into. It's about how do you come to know, right at the beginning. So we're assuming there's something you can notice. So knowing you've got a process to pictures to feelings, that's great. Anyone else did it take a long time to get something? Okay. So
And this whole thing of take a long time is really relative, because it was only a matter of, well, a couple of minutes that the activity went on. Yeah, okay, I'll keep quiet. What were you going to say?
Okay, so then we've got another one which could be negotiated. So I held off on that word. We'll find out. So some things come up, but you sort of dismissed them. Said, oh, there's something. Oh no, not that, and then thought of something else. So how many people did notice for something, but then somehow moved it to one side? Or okay, oh, Irene, would you be interested in saying a little bit more about that? You don't have to.
Yeah, I realized that when I was younger, I had no problem to shout out loud when my emotions, positive, negative, if we can call them like that. And right now I feel kind of stuck with emotions, doesn't matter positive or negative. And it made me intellectually go back and when that could have happened. So even though I haven't been able to shout out loud, it gave me the possibility to be more conscious about what is happening right now. And yeah, so it's for me, it's going to be a process to get back to my normal. So I found that very interesting.
And one thing can sometimes be interesting to do is if you've got a reference, you've got a normal you once were, or something you once were. If you have access to that, is something you can do, both symbolic modeling, get some metaphors for, and body sensations with, and actually start to somewhat directly re-access it. Like it's almost like you dodge around something, claim something you had before and bring it forward, but just pretty much by trying to re-experience it. It's a really simple idea. So if that's useful to you, that'd be great. Susie.
Well, actually, I had a rather lovely thing happen to me in that I've never been a person that wanted things, or especially, like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? What do you want for birthday? Oh, no idea. I just very unsatisfying child, and never got excited by those things. And immediately I did come up with something, and I was like going, oh, this is so lovely. I can just ask for what I want. It might or may not happen, but it's like Christmas and a birthday. And I'm like going, oh, I've moved on. It's just a lovely, gleeful joyfulness inside of me. So thank you for that.
Oh, wow. I've gone extremely tingly. That's amazing. It's fantastic.
Lovely.
And there is a like, well, I'm asking my question, but the whole context of this is, can you go from noticing something what you want to actually asking for it out loud? And what happens if you don't? And like so many, well, we're going to unpick a few, but you know, what is that? There's so many obstacles in the way, and people have these amazing epiphanies like that about, oh, I could actually ask, and it's okay to ask. And some of the bodywork stuff I do is exactly that. It's getting to, you know, like it's a bit like clean touch, but we work on, you know, can you notice what you want and ask for what you want, and then when you actually get what you want, then what happens to this kind of, you know, you're not tricked. It actually happens. Can you actually be with the fact that you've got what you want? That can be a really big deal for people as well. It's really simple little exercises.
I think that's the thing that I've most enjoyed, is that it turns out that I'm a very eternally grateful. So when I get what I want, I'm very boring and I go, oh, it's so nice. Oh, I'm really, that was really, really nice. And I can see my husband going, oh God, right, we're going to hear about this for a long time.
I'd rather hear about being appreciated for something, getting something you wanted, as opposed to being nagged. It sounds like a much better deal. But
yeah, it depends on how often you do it.
I think Irene, did you have something to say?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned before, for me it was like having a picture and kind of trying it on, and it didn't feel right. So I tried a few other pictures until I settled on one thing. So there was some kind of negotiation between the various things available.
Ah, that's interesting.
Interesting.
And Barbara also had, I think you waved a hand. Have you got something to add to the ways in which people changed what the thing was, or changed what they first thought of?
No, I just had different ideas that to choose from, and then I thought, yeah, do I actually have to say it now? Because I didn't hear anybody say it out loud. Then I was a bit, so okay, then in this case not. And does it happen if I don't say it? But nobody says it, so I had a bit too many thoughts circulating.
Okay. So there's a really lovely little model of all the ways in which it's actually what we need to do to ask for something. But actually what's really useful about the model is all the ways we don't do it. So it goes, there's 4 steps. The first one is noticing. So do you have the ability, this is a body-based thing, but I think the pictures and thoughts versions will apply as well. So first of all, can you even notice what you want? So can you even feel into your body and go, yes, I'm cold, I'd like to be warm, or, you know, whatever it is, something comes up from a source. Can you even notice it? So let's say you do notice it. Do you trust it? So you notice something and go, because you might do something like, oh, that can't be, I don't want that. Surely I'm not the kind of person that wants the shoulder rub. No. So you somehow dismiss it. So even though the information's come, you kind of go, no, that can't be true of me. That can't be right. The next thing is you've noticed it, trusted it, but now you don't value it. So you say, oh, well, no, it's more important to pick up the kids, or someone else's needs are more important than mine, or I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of receiving this. So it's someone else is more important, or I'm not good enough, I'm not allowed. These kind of things come in. So you don't actually value your need. And then the final bit is to actually say it. So you might go, that's fine, I've noticed it, I believe that's true, it is important, I have it. But if I say it, oh my God, what will people think of me? So there's a sort of shame and things like that piece around actually saying it out loud, let alone what happens once you say it out loud and get it or not get it. So it's a really nice way of like finally cutting up the ways in which people can potentially notice an outcome, but then not actually end up saying it. So there's a lot we can do with that. What's practically with that exercise, we're going to suggest if you like that idea, you could actually take away some of those steps as outcomes. You could do a little, find a clean facilitator you like, and say, actually, yeah, I noticed that. I'd like to notice more. That's my outcome. What would you like to have happen? I'd like to notice more in my body. Okay, or what would you like to have happen? I'd like to trust my body more. I notice these things, I dismiss them. Let's find out what that's about. Or I'd like to value my needs and I say needs and desires more. Pick your own word for that. Yeah, because I'm not valuing it. Or I'd like to be able to communicate my needs and desires more. Pick your own word. So you can use the model to actually create some outcomes for yourself if you notice any of these things are things you do. There are also.
Will this be in the handout?
I can add this one in actually. Those 4.
Please do. Please.
Yeah.
I'd like to add one thing about this, that, you know, communicate is typically in the context of you and another person, being able to communicate your needs or desires. But I think that I think it's also useful to think along these lines in relation to communicating with yourself. So I think a lot of the ways in which you, not you, but people can ignore or distance themselves from their desires come from kind of chopping things off at a point where they don't even allow themselves to notice that desire is there. And so if one thinks more broadly than just communicating what you'd like to someone else, I think you can get value from thinking about communicating with oneself as well. Yeah, keep quiet, Paul. What were you going on to?
And I'm just going to add, because we'll do a last little debrief in a second. A lot of these, there's some nice exercises that actually do role play. So I'm just saying this exists in the world. So come and talk to me about it if you want to know more. We just actually just role play asking what you want with someone else, and these kind of things come up. They're really simple, like touch exercises, where you kind of notice what kind of touch you might like, just like on your hands, and then notice what you would like, ask for it, then the person decides if they would like to touch you that way, and then they touch your hands. And it turns out something that simple unearths all these things really fast. And then there's loads of clean things you layer on top of an exercise like that to sort of start unpicking why you're not worthy enough and why you can't ask for anything, and when you do get it, why you know, I can't possibly enjoy this. No, it's just, oh, I can believe it when I start doing these, how much we subvert ourselves and just tolerate life. But anyway, so just probably a minute or more, just quick, what are people taking away?
There was one thing that I used to do to sabotage. I'd say, I'd really like this to my husband. He'd go for it. And then I wouldn't take it. And later on, I'd tell him off because I didn't take it. And he said, but I told you to take it. And I said, but I never believed you. And he said, well, that's not my fault. I don't know how our marriage survived it, but I just absolutely could not believe that what he was saying. And yeah, so I suppose we have that internal sometimes.
That's funny. I had a client we were doing this kind of thing with, and there was like because we were doing about yeses and nos, and she said, I don't believe your no. I thought that was really interesting. She didn't believe that I would say no to a request that she'd make that I wouldn't want to do. And that's so there's some really interesting, like, not believing the other person scenarios you can get into as well. So it's a fascinating world. Okay, so very quick, it'd be lovely to know what people are taking away from this. Like, what have you learned, or what might you do with it?
Yeah,
what
so
difference has it made?
as an explorer or as a facilitator.
Yeah, but, I mean, actually just in the whole session. You stayed, so we think that's a good sign, by the way.
I'll go. It's a lovely experience that I haven't had before, but it's also connects the somatic experience to coaching, which I have, or to clean language, which I have not been understanding how to do before. So this is great. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic.
Pleasure. Thanks. Good then, Brian.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I think it's continuing to surprise me how much information about our environment, our body holds. And all we need to do is just stop sensing out there and begin to sense in here, and you can apprehend the dynamic that you're putting on to what's happening, your meaning, the meaning that you're making, and then ask it, is it true? But your body will tell you where the conflict is. You know, are you feeling it in your face? Are you feeling it in your gut, your heart? You know, these energy centers contain information, and ask them. They know better.
Absolutely. If you go about doing stuff without paying any attention to the body, then you really are vastly limiting the resources available to you, which seems like a crazy thing that we
But
all
it
mostly
also
do.
it also facilitates the person that you're in a dynamic with to understand you better. If we don't understand ourselves, then they're not going to go inside of us, because, you know, the mirror neuron thing,
Yeah.
you know, if someone stands in clarity, then, you know, then the conversation is likely to get clear.
Nice point. Very nice point.
So we're out of, oh, go on, Mariah, let's do one more.
For me, there's like a huge doorway, and the doors are wide open, and I'm in the process of walking through, and there's a really beautiful new landscape inviting me. So this is a huge, absolutely natural, organic next phase for me. I'm going to definitely dive really deep into this. Thank you.
Brilliant, brilliant.
So much.
So I mentioned on that, because we'll wrap up. I think we can probably hang around in the Zoom room for a little bit longer, but just because we're up on time, so if people want to go, we've got some of this written up just as the couple of the processes as a PDF. As I say, I'm going to tweak a couple of bits. So if you happy to pop your email in the chat, or actually I can pop mine in as well. So yes, if you want to pop your email in the chat, you can do it personally to me or Wendy. If you don't want everyone to see it, we'll send it over. We'll just use the email for that. That's fine. Then let me, Wendy, did you want to spot your email in the chat as well? So
yep.
I'm, oops, sorry, it's on direct message. There we go. Right, so I'm Paul at clarityofpurpose.co.uk. Wendy's going to put her, she's Wendy at cleanchange.co.uk. So do feel free if you've got questions. Basically, we do this, and then anyone who goes and plays, we love to hear from. That you've gone and used it, or run a practice session, or tried it yourself, or whatever. It's just, you know, that's why we do this, is so people can go and raise their facilitation skills or do improve personally. So feel free to get in contact about anything. We obviously got clean training that's coming up for I've got the dates in January from the 13th of January. So that's like from module 1, so from the basics right through to doing clean space and this thematic stuff we've got in our module 4 now as well. We also do
more stuff beyond that, but
yeah, there's advanced
the usual
modules.
starting place.
Yeah, we do one-to-one work. So, you know, anyone who wants to explore this further one-to-one, give us a shout. Yeah, and feel free to grab us anytime, and we'll hang around for a few minutes now, but this is to free up anyone who wants to head off. Anything else, Wendy?
Well, yeah, just a big thank you to you all for giving us this much of your time and participating as you have done. It's we appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
And all the feedback, and it doesn't work without people sharing and their experiences. I mean, that's what makes this really, really magic. It's the joint exchange. So thank you for everyone who shared.
And would you put your website address in the chat where we can find out more about the trainings?
Yep. Paul, should we put the new website address?
So we're halfway through Wendy's old, very, very old website,
very old,
becoming a new website. So we've got all the training and the e-commerce bit sorted on the new site. So that's the one with NG2, but it's not everything in it. You think? Yeah, that's probably.
Are you busy writing it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and if you can't find things on that, just email us, can point you in the right direction. Good.
It's deeply frustrating not to be able to do more, but you get the handouts, you'll see the bit that we didn't cover, and you can easily do that yourself. In fact, I think even without a facilitator, you could do it yourself. So that will fill that gap in, and you've now got our contact details, and you might have spotted we're a bit keen on all this stuff. So if you'd like to ask a question or share on anything, we would be delighted to hear from you and respond. Excellent. So anyone who wants to or needs to go, since you will have expected to leave about 5-7 minutes ago, then goodbye. Maybe see you in the last of the blocks. And anyone who'd like to do a bit more talking or whatever, well, we're here.
When does it go on?
Say again?
When does it go on? The next session, do you already know?
They're doing a closing block.
Okay.
So if you want to go to the closing block thing, that's probably happening in the lobby now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think it starts now.
Thank you. Ciao.
Good.
Yeah.
But so we'll hang out because we could go to the closing block. But if anyone wants to talk about this, we'll stay and talk. And if they don't, we'll go back.
I only want to say I had my schedule clear, like the co-creative session, and then something with Caitlin that was really clear. And then you started sharing, announcing yours. I was like, no way, I'm going to participate in something that takes both blocks. But my whole everything was like, yeah, this is what we're doing.
So that's really lovely, isn't it? That
yes.
That intellectually, rationally, whatever, it was no way, but actually you paid attention to what your system was telling you.
Yeah.
And I must say, it seems to me you've got some very nice noticing that it sort of seems a very good thing that you listen to it from my perspective.
Absolutely,
what do I
perfect
know?
catch. And I'm going to look at your offerings and possibilities for deepening. Look forward to the transcripts and
that sounds fantastic.
Very natural, very natural. Thank you.
But it's nice to hear because last time we did a double session as well. And I think we quite like going deep into topics, and then when we try and bring it, you see we already missed something out. It's like trying to get something in 50 minutes when you feel you're just scratching the surface, and we want to take people deeper than that. So it's nice that when people come along on that journey and get such a lot from it. So thank you.
And a beautiful, bold choice. Even then, we're also going to take the pause. The break is like, okay, coming in here.
That's it. But then you get people who are serious about learning coming as well, and that suits us. So yes, thank you. I didn't make a comment at the beginning. Was of course, if anyone notices sensations in their bladder during the 2 hours, no, don't say that, Paul, because you'll be priming them all. So we'll be crossing their legs the whole session. It's like
oh, beautiful.
Good.
Okay.
That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share, it reminded me, I was at the Billy Joel concert in Boston at Fenway Park years ago, and my cheeks were killing me. And I had to like disconnect from the music and tune into my body to find out, why are my cheeks hurting so much? And I realized it was because I was really smiling. And I had such a warm feeling in my chest, and my cheeks were like, ah, this is causing me great pain. Disconnect from the music, tune into my body. And my body was telling me something that I knew on one level, but it was telling me on a deeper level. So I just thought that was profound.
It's a lovely example.
I've got to say, actually, my cheeks are quite aching at the moment as well. You just draw my attention to that because I'm beaming because it's so lovely to sit there.
Yeah,
That's
all right.
lovely as
Okay.
well to have you the contributions that you made. They
Thank you.
unquestionably added value through the session.
Thank
is
you.
Brilliant.
Well, I'm a little bit embarrassed because did we do 2 sessions in that time period? Was that all right? Because it seemed to be very compelling. I know that I had, checked out and made tea, so I went blank video for a while, but I was totally plugged in, and the 2 hours I think went by like that. So well done.
I have to say that was my experience as well. It's, the point that Paul had noticed we needed to leave out one of the activities. I knew we were behind in the schedule, but I hadn't, worked out we'd have to leave something out. The point that he said that, it was kind of, this cannot be. We've hardly even begun.
Yeah.
And now we already needing to look at the finish moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful.
I think it's even more surprising because no one could claim that we did any monster-sized activities. They were really small little activities, and still so much seemed to come from each of them that
we as a culture don't pay attention to this instrument that we walk around in.
I think that's true.
Yeah. But that's changing. Clean language is changing it. The whole cosmos is sending new energy out. This disruption, people are having to go internal and reflect on things like, what's the meaning of this? What do I make of this? I dated a German woman years ago. She would, rather than saying, how do you feel about that? She was like, what experience do you make from that? I'm like, boy, that really sounds clunky, but it's true because we make experiences based on experiences that we've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, that one kind of metaphor one can make use of is to say the situation I'm in now is like this experience I had in the past. So that experience becomes the metaphor for now. So yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think you also are right that there's a sort of, it seems to be coming from all sides now that bodies are important and you do well to pay attention to them. So I think there is a kind of increasing awareness and regard for what one's body can add to the party.
There's an English woman by the name of Pam Gregory. She's an astrologer.
All right.
And she's wonderful. She's one of the most popular astrologers on YouTube, but she's talking about the need to be grounded. And there's a lot of things, a lot of situations, experiences, news headlines that are pulling us away from ourselves. And she says, pat your cat, go sit under a tree, look at water, walk in the woods and smell. What do you smell? And she's trying to get people to, because people are losing their senses. We must come back to our senses.
That's that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
Pam Gregory, if you're curious.
Pam Gregory.
Okay, thank you so much, Paul and Wendy. And I'll see you around the planet.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
You go well.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.